here. This is Killer Kyle. And welcome to Kyle, and welcome to another episode of Wheels of Fury. We weren't really going to do an episode today, but kind of saw this on my YouTube channel, and I guess it's the anniversary of the day Vince McMahon bought WCW.
Who would have thought? Like, I'm sure everybody saw that and remembers it and, won't forget it. And then, as time goes on, you don't really think too much about it. And now it's like, holy crap, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, and I mean, WrestleMania 17 was one of the best WrestleManias that, started off a slew of really good WrestleManias since then. I mean, in my opinion, from like WrestleMania 9, and then you have other WrestleManias up until 17, didn't seem like a big deal to me, in my opinion. Like, it wasn't what a WrestleMania should be. It seemed like a smaller venue, which obviously can happen, but at the same time, it just felt like the Astrodome was a great place for a WrestleMania, and the fact that it was huge and the aisle wasn't long, and just the crowd and everything else that, like the stage, everything about this show was exciting, and you had all the titles on the line, which, you can hate it and whatever, but in my opinion, I think it was pretty cool.
Right.
Why not have your titles on the line?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, there's that.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of these wrestlers are no longer with us. And, like, 4 years ago, actually, I did a WrestleMania series, and unfortunately didn't do a good job, but I did do WrestleMania 17. So, yeah, I do have a lot of good memory about that show, too.
Yeah.
So it should be easy, and I'm sure you've watched it a lot.
No, I've watched it, yes, I've watched it. There's a couple things I mentioned to you in conversation, and it's really going to be fun to reminisce about WrestleMania 17 and things that went down.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's gonna be fun. Let's get to it. So, let's first talk about the pre-show. We had X Factor versus the Odd Couple of Steve Blackman and Grandmaster Sexay. And
yeah, that's quite a random pairing.
I don't know how it came about. I can't remember, at least.
Yeah.
But it was just thrown together. Obviously, you had X-Pac, Just Incredible, and Prince Albert. And, yeah, I mean, I'm sure Sean Waltman was still dealing with his demons, as was Incredible. And then, of course, you throw in Matt Bloom into the picture. And these guys were, well, they were around for a year. anyways, Albert just had his run with Test. And so,
Yeah.
this match was pretty good. I don't know too much about it, though. I know that X-Pac did his karate move thingy, but they ended up winning.
Yeah.
So, there's that. Then we go on to WrestleMania. The Intercontinental Champion Chris Jericho versus William Regal.
Yeah, this was actually a fairly good match.
Yeah. Their feud was, an interesting one to say the least. You have Chris Jericho pissing in William's cup, and then William taking a sip of his coffee, being all nutty and shit. Then you have the match itself. I think that was a very good match.
Yeah. William Regal has always been one of those guys that is just a great heel.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of those guys that pretty much thrived as being a heel. Like, he had a little bit of a run as a face, but it never amounted to anything like him as a heel. He was such a great heel.
Yeah, and after this match, obviously, they had the one in Backlash, the Queensberry Laurels match, but Regal wouldn't get the title until the next year at Royal Rumble when he beat Edge. And then, of course, the match at WrestleMania 18 when he went against Rob Van Dam.
Yes.
So it's kind of cool to see him going against a champion, and then the next year he is the champion. So
Pretty much, yeah.
Now going to a 6-man take team match. You got Taz and the APA with Jacqueline versus Right to Censor.
Right to Censor was one of those groups that did fairly well for themselves. It just never really went anywhere and was very short-lived.
Yeah, anyways, this was a good match, obviously. APA definitely took Right to Censor to the limit.
Yes.
As powerful as they are.
Mm.
But I mean, you had Bolt Buchanan and the Good Father.
Yes.
Which was interesting because you had Charles Wright and Ron Simmons at one point were in Nation of Domination.
Yes.
But, yeah, APA and Taz won this match.
Right.
Obviously. So, this was cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what happened in this one, but obviously, as we go on, I do remember more from other matches anyways.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Next was a match for the hardcore title. You had the champion Raven against Big Show and Kane.
yes.
And this match, they went all over the place. At one point, they ended up backstage and there was a chase with golf carts, and I think Raven was in one,
Yeah.
and then I think Big Show was driving the other one or something, and Jimmy Corderas, I believe, was the referee for this match. He gets in the golf cart too, and they're showing the chase, and it ends up somewhere backstage, and the golf cart that was getting driven by Big Show, I believe it was, crashes into like a lighting or whatever, and they thought, they're gonna blow out the power to the whole friggin' arena. Luckily they didn't, and they continued on with the match, but it's like, ooh, that was it. as entertaining as it was, very risky move.
Oh yeah.
Crash the golf cart into a power thing, and then, almost risk killing the power to the whole friggin' arena.
Yeah. And I remember, I think it was Big Show that threw Raven into the glass and one of the rooms there.
Yeah.
But they made their way back onto the stage, and it was ending up that Kane became the new hardcore champion.
Yeah.
Now, however long it was, I'm not quite sure, but this was a match for the hardcore title where it wasn't an ongoing thing through the night, not like the next year, but this was still a really good match.
Yeah.
One of the matches of the night, which we'll see in a few minutes, but
Yeah. I bet a lot of people didn't really ever think they'd see, like, Big Show and Kane in a match with Raven.
no, man, that's kind of random.
Now, of course, years later, Big Show and Kane would become a tag team.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this being 20 years ago, and triple threat match for the hardcore title.
And I mean, Paul White was still young enough that
Yeah.
he could move much better than, well, I guess he could a few years ago at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this I think was one of the best matches of the night. Like I said, WrestleMania 17, one of the best WrestleManias of all time.
European title.
Yeah.
Test against Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, so you have Eddie, who was with Perry Saturn.
Right.
Now, the Radicals, I believe, broke up, but you had Eddie and Perry, who were still a tag team of some kind, or buddy. But yeah, Eddie was the one that going for the title. Now, Test was the European champion at the time, and yeah, this match was really good. Obviously, Test was more of the powerhouse. It ended up that Eddie cheated to win,
Yeah.
so obviously, and Eddie became the new European champion.
Like, you're not gonna remember every fucking thing.
Now we go on to the Iron Man match. You've got Chris Benoit, the Rabid Wolverine, versus the Olympian Kurt Angle. And the way this match came about, obviously, Kurt challenged Chris to a match. Chris being the guy who is of the submission holds and everything. And then, of course, you got the Olympic wrestler of Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
So this match was a very cool match as well. I mean, they both got a fall. Obviously, it was cheering myself for Benoit,
Right.
but that kind of, wasn't in my favor as Kurt Angle got the better
Yeah.
of Chris and won the match. I can't recall how many falls it was, but it was a pretty lengthy match.
Yeah. And you look at, Angle and Benoit, two of the best technical wrestlers in WWF at this point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, two real savvy veterans, if you will.
But of course, they would team up 2 years later
Yeah.
and have the SmackDown Tag Team Championship.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that in itself was interesting. You talk about a weird tag team.
Yeah.
Now we go on to the Women's Championship match. You've got the right to censor Ivory, who took on China.
Yeah.
Now, China had hurt her neck at the Royal Rumble, and, well, she hurt her neck way before that, and you had White to Censor, who mocked her
Yeah.
in the interview that she did
Mm-hmm.
prior to that. So
Yeah.
then she went into the Rumble with facing Ivory. Then she got injured,
Mm-hmm.
and so you have this match, which was pretty much a one-sided ass kicking.
Basically, yes.
I mean, Ivy talked the talk, but there's no way she walked the walk.
No.
I mean, and I kind of figured it was going to go that way, and I didn't really see China as the women's champion. I mean, this is a woman that was the first Intercontinental champion. So, like, as, you know, a woman.
The first and only woman to hold the IC title, yes.
So, yeah, China basically picks her up, slams her down, and does a cocky pin, or whatever, and
Yeah.
is the new Divas champion now. I can't remember who beat China for the title, but yeah, this was a pretty good match. I mean, at the time, I'm sure she deserved it, but when you look at her, I mean, she wrestled guys, she was the first and only women's Intercontinental champion, so to put the women's title on her, I mean, it made sense, but at the same time, it was weird.
Meh, I guess.
Maybe. So now you have the street fight. You've got Shane McMahon versus his daddy Vince McMahon,
Yeah.
or Mr. McMahon, I guess.
Yeah.
And of course, this was refereed by none other than Mick Foley.
Bang bang!
Hell yeah. This, yep.
I was gonna say, you know, the interesting thing about this storyline back then was, yes, as we talked about, Shane basically bought out the rights to WCW before his dad got a chance to, but also there was the aspect of Linda was drugged for whatever freaking reason, was in a wheelchair, and then, you know, Shane buys WCW, and then goes on from there. And the one moment that stands out in my mind in this match, Shane and Vince are pummeling the piss out of each other.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, Vince was in a trash can. Shane hit coast to coast on him in the trash can, and you know, we have Linda with Trish Stratus ringside, because Trish at that time was Vince's love interest.
Yeah.
And at one point, he takes a steel chair, puts it in the ring, scoops up Linda out of the wheelchair, but she's flopping like she's dead weight, right? He's just manhandling her in the ring, sits her down in the steel chair. Shane's over in the corner. Vince goes over and he's punching him or whatever.
Yeah.
And Linda just stands up and the crowd just erupts.
And Vince doesn't even know it.
Yeah. And of course she comes up from behind him and kicks him in the ding ding.
Yeah. I really hope that night Vince remembered too.
We're a fucking cup!
So,
But you talk about moments that you don't really need anything to be said to get a good reaction. I mean, you know, that whole storyline with, like, you know, Vince and Trish and, you know, them making out with each other, and, you know, she was his love interest, and, you know, doing this all in front of Linda while she was in this drug state and all this other stuff, and then, you know, he picks her up out of the wheelchair, steel chair, and the ring, and as he's got his back turned, she stands up, and the crowd just comes to life. It's like, that's when you know you've got a good storyline.
Yeah.
And people are invested in it.
but, you know, from that, they beat the shit out of each other.
Oh,
Like you
absolutely,
said.
yeah.
I mean, Vince never took it easy on Shane, but Shane gave it back, and those two
Oh, yeah.
are probably, as we've heard anyways, the most stiffest people. You know, those punches are like potatoes and everything else. But yeah, they bloodied themselves up, and obviously it was one hell of a fight. But yeah, I mean, Mick even got in the action
Yeah.
at some point. So Yeah, Shane won, obviously. But interesting because Vince did an interview and, talking about his match with Shane.
Yeah.
And they said something about shocking, and Vince goes, "Shocking? I'll show you shocking." So we obviously thought that Vince was going to win this match somehow, but that didn't happen. So we'll find out later in the night what happened.
In this match, was this match a doozy?
Hell yes.
So, we got a TLC match for the tag titles. You got, of course, the legendary tag teams of the Dudleys, the Hardys, and ENC as in Christian.
Yeah.
And, talk about iconic moments, another iconic moment in this match. At one point, Jeff is on the ladder. He's reaching up for the championships. Edge is over in the corner. He's like on the second rope. Bubba, he's holding the ladder and he starts walking away with the ladder. And Jeff's feet are he's kind of straddling the ladder. Bubba's walking out with the ladder. Jeff's feet finally gave way. He starts to swing. As he's swinging, here comes Edge off the ropes. Boom! It's freaking Jeff with the spear. My God.
And then, people said, "Was that planned?" And Edge is like, no.
Yeah.
Because, he hit the spear, but at the same time, when they went down, Edge smacked his head on the mat and knocked himself out for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, there's no planning in that. And, of course, Jeff jumping off the ladder on the outside of the ring. And then, of course, you got, the interference of Spike Dudley.
Right.
The first appearance of Spike, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
And then Lita comes out to help the Hardys. And then, of course, you got the Rhino. And, yeah, this match was awesome. And, of course, you have Edge and Christian getting up the ladder. But, of course, Rhino is helping hoist up, I think it was Edge. And, Edge gets titles. And for the second time in a row, in the first, it was the second TLC match, Edge and Christian are the new tag team champions. Which, of course, it was the Dudleys that had the titles.
Yes.
So, but this match was a car wreck. Any TLC match is a car wreck.
Oh, yeah.
These three tag teams have to be one of the best, the most bravest tag teams at that time. And I think that Edge and Christian had always won those matches. Because WrestleMania 20 they won. SummerSlam that year they won. And then WrestleMania 17 they won. I don't think the Hardys or the Dudleys ever beat them. I could be wrong.
I'm trying to remember. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
And then we go on to no disqualification match, I believe.
Yeah.
Undertaker against Triple H. And this was the first of their, you call it, trilogy matches at WrestleMania, because of course they wrestled each other a second time 10 years later at 27, and then the following year at 28.
Yeah.
And this match was
Holy shit.
insane.
This fucking match, first of all, you got Motorhead, who opened for Triple H for the first WrestleMania, because obviously, they did the other one a few years later. So you have that. And then, of course, you have them wrestle on the outside. Then they go up on the Skyfold thing. One Skyfold after the other. You have Undertaker. He choke slammed Triple H off the one platform onto the other. You were gonna have the ambulance guys. They put Triple H on a stretcher. But of course, Taker had none of it.
Yeah.
Started plummeting his ass. Then they make their way back into the ring. And then you have you know, Undertaker do the last ride. That didn't work. Well, I mean, I think he hoisted him up and it didn't work the first time. Then he went to do it again, but Triple H had the sledgehammer. So, you know, Taker picks him up and sledgehammered in the forehead, but busts Taker open. I think he did a tombstone to win the match. I'm not sure.
There was, I think it was a tombstone or choke slam to win the match, and yeah.
But they beat the shit right out of each other.
Oh yeah, they pulverized each other.
Like I said, this was the third best match of the night. You know, you have the hardcore title, you've got the tag team titles, and then you've got Triple H and the Undertaker, the American Badass.
I would say, you say, okay, 3? I would go 4 and throw in Shane and Vince.
Oh yes, I forgot about that too. Yeah, no, I agree. You got 4 of the best matches at WrestleMania 17. So people that say that this wasn't the best WrestleMania.
Exactly.
So. Now you have the Gimmick Battle Royal. You've got. You had
John Tent, you had Earthquake, you had Hillbilly Jim, you had Tugboat, Bushwhackers,
Sergeant Slaughter,
Jim Cornette, Bruce Pritchard, or Brother Love.
Yeah.
And I remember watching, I think it was an episode of On Demand on the network, WWE Network, of Something to Wrestle With, or something, what it is, podcast anyways. And he was talking about, this match, and him, like, Bruce Pritchard and Jim Cornette, they're in the ring with all these, well-experienced wrestlers, and they didn't want to mix it up with any of them, so they're just like, alright, we get in the ring, we lock up, we go into a corner, we do some stuff, punches, maybe a wrist lock, headlock, whatever, and then I'll eliminate you, and then we go from there.
Yeah. And then, you have Mean Gene Okerlund and Bobby the Brain Heenan, who did commentary. Now, this was obviously when Bobby started getting sicker.
Yeah.
I mean, you can definitely see that. And that's unfortunate. It had the backstage segment with, I think, it was Coach who was doing the interview, and of course there was a lot of screaming, and then out comes Mean Gene Okerlund and Bobby Heenan with Mae Young and Moolah, and yeah, you know how I feel about that. I said that in the last
So of course Coach goes and tries to get the Undertaker. He goes to the locker room and he hears noise and who should come out but Mean Gene Okerlund and Mae Young, who I guess were having a bit of sex, or what it looked like. Excuse me for a minute. Okay. Anyways, they came out and they talked for a bit. And then Bobby Heenan came out with the Fabulous Moolah, and it looked like they were having sex. And sorry about that.
Anyways, no, this was a good match, and I mean, you had Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, and, and I made my bones about that too. Iron Sheik rightfully won the match.
Yeah.
But then, of course, Sergeant Slaughter comes in, and then, I don't know if he was eliminated, actually. But he ended up tossing Sheik over, and then he won the match.
Yeah.
So maybe he wasn't eliminated, I'm not quite sure. But this was a good one too. And Doink the Clown.
Yeah.
So I mean, and Knuckleball Schwartz, I think was. I know it was the Goon.
Yeah, the Goon was in there.
The Gobbledygooker.
Yeah. Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, this was fun. Fun to see the blast from the past, you know, and I think these guys, a lot of them aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, Kamala.
Well, yeah, Kamala was in there too.
Yeah. It's funny how I thought about this earlier today. And it's too bad Typhoon didn't come up. And Fred Armisen as Tugboat.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I look at WCW, and it would have been cooler to have Avalanche versus the Shockmaster.
Yeah, really. Eh?
But,
Like, you had Earthquake in there. Think it would make sense to have Typhoon in there as well, and they decided, oh, we'll go with Tugboat instead. It's like, well, I guess of those two personas that Fred did, Tugboat was the more over one, you could say.
yeah.
Like, Earthquake and Typhoon were the tag team, but once he went solo, became Tugboat, that's when he really had the fanfare behind him, if you will.
Yeah, and I mean, when I started watching wrestling, it was the natural disasters.
Yes.
So, looking at like baseball cards, baseball cards, wrestling cards, you know, and I see Tugboat, and it's like, that guy looks a lot like Type. Oh.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, Tugboat, wait, that looks like, ew.
but, I mean, a few months later, or even a year later, John Tenta would pass away from bladder cancer.
Yes.
You know, Fred retired.
Yeah, Fred retired.
So, I mean, but this was a good match, like I said. It was fun to see Blast from the past.
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything else. And I don't think you'll ever get something like that again.
Not likely.
I mean, you had Raw old school over the years, and, you know. When it first happened in 2010, I was thrilled because you had the red, white, and blue ropes and whatever. But it was just never the same.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
trilogies.
Yeah, talk about trilogies. There's probably no more of an iconic trilogy than Rocky and Stone Cold.
Yeah. And you know, it was funny because at this time they were both faces, and you didn't know how that was going to work. I mean, you probably thought it was going to be like a Hogan Warrior situation. But, you know, The Rock beat Kurt Angle, had no way out for the title. Before that, Steve Austin had won the Royal Rumble for the third time. And so, yeah, I think that when The Rock won, I kind of was hoping to see Kurt Angle versus Austin, but
Yeah.
this probably was a big draw. But you had Austin's then wife, Deborah, who McMahon appointed her as The Rock's manager for however many weeks. Well, I mean, it didn't last very long.
No.
You had that intense interview backstage with JR, where Austin was like, I need this. You have no idea. And all this other bullshit. So this match happens, you know, and they show them backstage, and then they have Austin come out, and then it was like, the match started right away. Austin didn't even wait for the bell.
Yeah.
So, in my mind, now that I think about it, and I didn't even know back then, but you could have guessed that he would have turned heel.
Yeah.
But, you know, the match happens. They beat the shit out of each other outside, inside, you know. And then out comes Vince McMahon in his attire that he had for his match with Shane.
Yeah.
And then he's helping out Stone Cold.
Yeah.
And still, nobody knows what's happening.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have Austin put the Rock in the sharpshooter. Or you have, you know, Rock getting bloodied by a chair. Many different chair shots. You know, Rock also got some offense too, but, you know, the match was basically given to Austin. Austin has the chair from McMahon,
Mm.
and is waylaying the shit out of The Rock
Oh yeah.
before giving him a stunner,
Mm.
and then hitting him again, and
Mm.
then pinning him for the win, and then of course the iconic shaking of the hands of Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon, the devil himself.
Mm. Yeah. Even though nobody really knew what was going on, why is Austin doing this and why is McMahon involved and all this other stuff, and then at the end you finally figure out that, oh, alright, Austin sold his soul to the devil, as JR put it.
Yeah.
But even with all that, this match itself as a whole was also very good.
Yeah, you know, and it's kind of funny because I don't think it was supposed to be a no DQ.
No.
So when it happened, you know, JR's like, what the fuck? You know, so. But this was cool. I mean, like I said, this match was a close call. You obviously knew Austin was going to win and become the new champion.
Mm.
But the whole thing of Vince coming out and helping Austin, and then Austin turning heel,
Mm.
you know, and then you have this iconic Austin, you know, with the belt, and he's flipping off the crowd.
Mm.
He's got the blood on his face as well,
Mm.
you know, and you just don't see too many matches like that anymore.
No.
But what do you remember from this one?
Like, it was a really great show, and, you know, all the matches were really, really good. You know, there's, like I said, key elements and key points in certain matches that will stand out and as a memory. You know, like I said, Linda standing up in the out of the chair, Edge Spear and Jeff. You know, Triple H taking the choke slam from Taker off the camera platform.
Yeah.
You know, Austin pulverizing Rocky with the chair. You even go to the match with Ivory and China, and just there's China pressing Ivory overhead and just holding her there, and
Yeah.
all this other stuff.
I mean, this was the one, like I said, the best WrestleManias because it looked like it was a big deal. And I know I've said that before, but it's true. And I think that we just named 4 of the best matches from that show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and you'll never get that again. You know, and this was at the time where, you know, WCW was bought.
Yeah.
But when you look at the show, you've got Chris Jericho of WCW at the time.
Mm.
Well, he was in WWE for a while,
Yeah.
though, you know, Raven from ECW, WCW,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I mean, this show was the second to last WWF WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this was a very cool show. And then, of course, them announcing that they were going to be at the Sky Dome in Toronto for 18.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this was cool. And that's pretty much all I can say. Like, it was very exciting to watch at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the next day, and I've said that before, having one of my friends at the time pissed off at me because I didn't betray Austin like he did because Austin went heel. So, I mean, that was kind of silly, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I turned my back on Austin when the guy went, you know, to the other side, the Alliance,
Mm.
a few months later.
Yeah.
So this was a good show. I mean, WrestleMania 17, again, was one of those shows where you look forward to it because the hype to the show was good, the build-up to the show was good, and it delivered.
Yeah.
And 18 delivered as well.
Oh yeah.
I think 19 was disappointing, and that was also the last Rock Austin match.
That was the last Rock Austin match And also Austin's last match of his career.
Yeah. But this was a good show. The next time we're back, I think it's gonna be Stand and Deliver.
Yeah.
And so there's that. I'm not quite sure what's going on with Hardcore Justice. So we'll figure that out. Then you have NXT UK Prelude. And then, of course,
The big show.
WrestleMania. Yeah, the big show, WrestleMania. So I'm glad that we did this because we talked about WrestleMania 17 matches.
Yeah.
I don't think that I was prepared as I thought I should be, but we got through it.
Yeah.
So anyways, me and Matt, just Killer Kyle. Hi, and we're gonna see you later. I'm Cleopatra. Deuces.